everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a returning guest into the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity to the masses?
Woo, it's exciting. Hi guys, this is Monica Rial. Again, you can't get rid of me. Ha 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 ha. Insert maniacal laugh now.
Well, we're super excited to have you back because especially me, because I'm so used to doing these on a weekly basis that I didn't realize how much time had gone by, and we have
Yeah.
missed so many of your shows. Catching up that it's almost staggering. We missed Panty and Stocking. We missed
Oh
another.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, well, I mean, my schedule is, I will say that it's pretty ridiculous. Like, this year especially, like, there's been a lot of stuff that we've worked on in past years that just hasn't come out until now. And so it seems like there's things that I've been working on for, like, the past 3 years that are just coming out this year. So it seems like I've got, like, 300 shows that are just coming out this year alone. And so it's hard to keep up with that. I don't blame you guys at all.
Well, on the plus side, you get bragging rights for that. It's like I was in this one and this one and this one.
It gets a little weird after a while though, because it's like, I mean, it's fun as an actor because I have to continually try to think of ways to make each one different and exciting. But at the same time, it's crazy because I don't always know when things are announced. And so sometimes I might be a show that I worked on 3 years ago, but it got tied up in, licensing rights or whatever, and it just comes out. And I have no idea. So until I hear people talk about it to me, I don't say anything. So it's hard for me to even keep up. So I don't really get the bragging rights either because I just kind of keep it to myself.
Aw, well, I think bragging must be one of the funnest parts, though, especially when you're telling, other people in the field. It's like, oh, you were in that? I was in that too.
Yeah, if I was a bragger, I totally would, but I can't. It's just such a good job, and I'm always worried about karma. And like, I love my job so much, and I absolutely adore every single second of it, but I don't want to do anything that might make karma come around and bite me in the butt and take it away from me. So I'm like, no bragging, no none of it. Like, just be thankful for what you've got and always be very humble and try to, be the nicest and the most open person you can be, because I am very, very, very lucky, and I didn't realize how lucky I am. And there are a lot of people that would love to be in my position, and so instead of like using it for evil, I try to use it for good.
Well, that's good advice for the would-be voice actors out there, because I know we have
Yeah.
quite a few aspiring voice actors listening to the radio right this moment. But one of the things that I do want to bring up when Penny and Stocking was happening, the IRC, our live chat, couldn't stop talking about it. It was interesting too because I didn't see very much conversation when it was being simulcast, but I saw a ton when the dub was released.
Yeah, it's well, that's one of those shows. I will say Jamie Markey and her team of writers did a fantastic job. Basically, Gynax came to Funimation and said, like, we want you to go as crazy with the scripts as you possibly can within the realm of United States law. So we want you to make it as dirty and crazy and horrible as possible, but don't get arrested. So she took that and she ran with it. And their only stipulation was that any curse words that she made up or came up with, that she teach them those words so that they could go back and use them in Japan. So the script, I think that's why the dub has gotten so much attention, is because the script is very westernized, which matches the style of the animation, and it's really over the top and ridiculous and fun. And it's one of those things where we kind of were just given these characters and we were able to just take them 100%. And we had a blast. Like, everybody that worked on it just absolutely loved it. You didn't even have any, like, ho-hum voice actors that are like, oh, I'm just going to go do my job. Like, everybody was really excited, and we all love it, and it's an excitable group. And so I think there was a lot of love and energy put into it, and I think that's why you hear so much about it now, is that we really did care about it. It was our baby. It was everybody's baby. A very filthy mouse baby.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think one of the interesting things about going into that job every day is you wouldn't really be able to guess what you're getting because that show is so far out there.
Oh, it was fabulous working on it because I had no idea. I mean, I'd seen little snippets of animation, and Jamie had been talking to me about it for months, but I was also recording Index at the same time. So always go play stalking and get to say horrible foul-mouthed things and just be this really, like, gothy, just awesome, like, the things she would say just blew me away. But then I'd go, like, 2 doors down, and I'd have to be Index, who's this, like, sweet but bratty, but she was in a nun's habit pretty much. So it was like, I'm going to be struck by lightning. Someday I'm going to get it for going into one studio and saying F-D F-F-F and then walking into the next studio and then quoting, religious books. So it was interesting to say the least.
Well, the plus side of that is that, at the end of the day, you've gotten both your angel and your demon out of you.
Right. So maybe that's why the lightning didn't strike.
It's okay.
Maybe.
It's good for the soul. It's good for the soul.
Right. Well, and that's one thing with painting and stocking, and we'll say going back to Jamie's scripts and everything, is like, I always tell people, thankfully now in the age of DVDs and stuff, like this whole dub versus sub thing is pretty much a moot point, but I always tell people, like, if you're buying the discs, you should watch both languages, because otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice, because you paid for it. So watch both, because there might be qualities in the performance that you like in the Japanese better and the English better. But painting and stocking, you kind of get 2 shows, really. Like, you get 2 different experiences from it. So I always tell people to watch both. And we found out recently that our dub is actually going to be on the Japanese Blu-ray release. So that's exciting, because I don't know that that's ever been done before. Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm going to be in Japanese people's homes. It's awesome.
I think the interesting thing about dubs versus subs specifically is that I'm one of those people that most of my shows I'll watch dubbed, but there are some shows I feel that lend themselves better to subtitle. Like, for example,
Oh, yeah.
I prefer watching Slice of Life with extra moe characters, like the ugus and the
Mm-hmm.
des. Like, I'm not really a fan of hearing that in English. So personally, I prefer watching those in Japanese, but generally most shows I'll watch dubbed.
And I think that's the thing is that, just figuring out, like, maybe sometimes it's a different show that you like to watch dubbed or not dubbed, either way, or it could be certain characters. Like, working as a writer, as an adaptive script writer, I watch everything in Japanese like 10 times over before I ever see it in English. So I totally get the idea of being attached to somebody's voice because that's what you heard first. Given that, though, sometimes you'll find a performance that, like, that Sadie's voice is so distinct and so cool that I love that, and there's no way to replicate it in English. But, hey, look at this other actor did this fantastic job. So I find that I have a much wider scale of, like, my favorites, if you will, just because, like, it varies from language to language. And but certainly with those moe characters, I know, like, working on Fairy Tale and stuff, there's been some personality quirks we've chosen to kind of leave out because it doesn't translate well for Western audiences. The one that I can think of is like Juvia speaks in third person in Japanese, which is really cute in Japanese, but Americans tend to find that creepy or like weird. So we didn't want to make her weird or creepy. But that's the kind of stuff that sometimes doesn't translate well, and I totally get that. But yeah, I think that everybody should be watching both and figuring out what they like and what they don't like about each.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think it's interesting when people are like, well, I watched it this way first, so I have to watch it this way. And then all I can think of is a show I watched on Crunchyroll called Oh Seven Ghosts. I'm pretty sure nobody picked it up. But the whole series was subtitled, and I watched all like 25, 26 episodes, and all I could think of was, I wish this was dubbed because it was very actiony and it was
Oh, yeah.
paced well for a dub for me to not be reading. So I feel like there's like different things you can bring up with the sort of argument. Well, I saw it this way first, so I'm attached to it, but it might not necessarily be right for your personal preference.
Exactly. And then there's some shows that like just lend themselves to dubs because like with Penny and Stalking or shows like Soul Eater that the animation is so different and kind of Western style anyway, and it's kind of not Japanese centric. There's not any, honorifics or anything like that. Sometimes those shows tend to do much better dubbed, whereas something that is, like you said, very moe centric or very shonen or something like that might not be as good dubbed just because it's hard to get all those little nuances in there because it's a language barrier and just a culture gap, really.
I remember I had a hard time picking which language I wanted to watch. Penguin Drummond first.
Oh, yay, Penguin Drum!
I do too. It's got some heavy themes to it, and I knew that going into the show, but I was still very very concerned. Like, do I want to see this dubbed? Do I want to see the subtitles? It was very it was a hard choice for me because I knew that those heavy themes existed, and I didn't know if like the cute sort of how should I say it? The very very cute and normalcy would translate very well once it got heavy. But I started with the
Yeah.
dub, and I really enjoyed it. So.
Oh, thank you. I think that we always love as voice actors when we get the opportunity to like really dive in and flesh out a character. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like the comedic roles and all that kind of stuff is they're all fun and great in their own way. But when you get like a really dramatic, torn character that has a lot of upheaval and issues, and they're just traumatic and traumatized and going through all this mess, like as an actor, that can be so much fun because you get to kind of like dig and figure out all these things about the character. And Himari was just going through so much that for me it was so much fun. And then also getting to go to the Princess of the Crystal and being able to kind of switch personalities altogether, but at the same time put little parts of her inside. Such an interesting character, and what a great show. So we had so much fun working on that one, and I'm glad that people have seemed to have liked it. So that's always good.
I really wish more people actually got a chance to watch that show, and I kept bugging people and Twitters and things like that in companies because I have a tendency when the new anime season comes out that I just happen to always pick the show that never gets licensed. I don't know why.
That
Penguin,
sucks.
I know it does. This is like the first season in like a year where both of the shows I wanted to see got picked up.
Oh, awesome.
But Penguin Drum, if I remember correctly, it wasn't simulcast. Nobody announced the pickup for it until like a year and a half later, or
Yeah,
something like that.
it was some weird. I mean, like, and that's the thing that I talk about, like with licensing issues. Like, I know a lot of fans get really upset and really up in arms when things don't come right over, but sometimes things get held up, and you don't know exactly what's going on. Like, there's Mock and Key. We actually dubbed that quite a while back, and it was just announced. So something was held up with that one. I know Rosario got held up for a while, and I guess Penguin Drum was kind of the same thing. But I expected them to do like a much bigger push because I know a lot of fans really love the show, but I think that they just weren't given the time to do that, I guess. So I'm really happy that it's gotten as much notoriety as it has. But I tend to like try to when I go to cons and stuff, and people ask me like, "What are the shows that are most underrated?" I'm like, "Watch Penguin Drum, watch Corral Phantom Memory, watch Mikiko and Hudson." These are shows that are really, really, really good shows that kind of got lost in, whether it's licensing or scheduling, God only knows, but kind of got lost in the wayside and people forget about them, and they're really, really, really good.
I will agree that for especially for Penguin Drum that it's really really good. Though I will say the really interesting thing about licensing issues is I have people being like, you could just import the disc, or you could do the bad way to do it, which I'm very heavily against. And I say to them, well, I'm an adult, I'm patient, I can wait. Either it's gonna get picked up, or I'm gonna save enough money to get a DVD or a Blu-ray import, even if it's an Asian DVD Blu-ray import, not a
Right.
Japanese Blu-ray import. But like it was funny because I was surprised when I would openly say either on forums or amongst the community that I was consistently waiting for Penguin Drum because I wanted to see it so bad. And people were like, "Well, what's the point of waiting? It's not going to be picked up." And I'm like, "You never know. Something could happen. Just
Yeah, I
have
think that
faith."
was one of the shows that you saw that, I mean, I knew it was going to be picked up. It was just a matter of who and when. You know what I mean? Like, if it's too pretty and such a good story. And it's hard to tell, but for some reason I just had a good vibe about that one. I felt like that one was probably going to get picked up. But like you said, it's so hard to tell what is going to get picked up and what isn't. But I thank you for doing it the right way, um, and not and helping us out, because like I'm not as vocal about all of the bad ways as you put it, to go about doing that. But as somebody who's been like directly affected by the fall of the anime industry and piracy and all that kind of stuff. But I really appreciate when people say things like that because it makes me feel better because I had to move and I had to do all kinds of crazy stuff as a result. And now, things are getting to pick back up and everything. But still, when somebody comes up to me like, yeah, I downloaded that whole anime, I'm like, well, did you buy the disc or did you, what, do you have a Netflix account or something? Because otherwise I can't be happy about that. You know what I mean? Like, you're part of the reason my life was kind of crazy about 5 years back. So make it better. Like, at least if it's a show you love, go buy the disc or do something to support the industry in some way. Because otherwise it could disappear, and that would really, 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 really suck for everybody.
It would, and I feel like nowadays, especially when you have services like Funimation and Crunchyroll and Viz Anime and Hulu and Netflix and Crackle and God knows what
Oh,
else.
oh yeah. Like, I mean, and that's the thing is I say at conventions all the time. I'm like, you got, because I'll hear somebody go, oh, but I don't want to pay, $8 a month for Netflix. Ugh. I'm like, okay, you guys, when I started doing anime, like my first convention back in 2000, if I had told those guys back then, hey, in the future, you're not going to have to pay $55 for 2 episodes on a VHS tape. For $55, you could be, on these 4 different like services per month where you can watch like hundreds of thousands of anime, and you're going to be able to buy whole seasons for like $35. They would have pooped their pants. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
know I use that same argument because when I was, when I was younger and I had an allowance, I had to save up and I would go to Suncoast and I would go buy things that way. And usually it was like once a month, maybe 2 months. But like I remember my first box set was like $350 to $400.
oh yeah, they were crazy, right?
Yeah, and so when I hear people being like, "Well, anime's too expensive," I'm like, "I want to punch you in the teeth."
Yeah. You have no idea how expensive it is, 10-year-old, because you weren't alive back then. Yeah, it's crazy to me, and I mean, I understand that like there's no way to make everybody happy, but it is so accessible now. Like you can find it. Like I'm so proud of like Funimation and Sentai and Crunchyroll. All these places are trying so desperately hard to make it as accessible as possible so that it isn't pirated. So it's simulcasted, and our poor translators are staying up all night to make sure that you get it as fast as you possibly can. So I'm proud of them for doing that, and I'm glad that the fans are receptive to it, and it seems to be helping. But at the same time, whenever somebody's like whining about it, I just want to walk up to them and go, "Shut up!" and smack them, and just be like, "Go spend $8 and watch all the anime on Netflix, and then you can complain." You know what I mean?
I feel like too you could just be patient. For example, I was on Right Stuff about a week ago and I was just exploring, but I had some extra cash and I was looking for something to buy. Found the first volume of Italia for $8.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the Right Stuff has crazy sales. Crazy sales. Like, yeah, you can get pretty much anything on, or Amazon too sometimes has sales. It's ridiculous.
and I think that's a good point here for us to take a break so you can explore Right Stuff, our Amazon, or make sure that your
Woohoo!
Crunchyroll subscription or Funimation subscription hasn't run out. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. And our special guest isn't going anywhere, I promise.
Woohoo!
Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and my special guest is still here and still breathing and chilling with a soda.
Yes, with a Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, Coca-Cola calls you for a commercial deal within the next hour.
Oh God, let's hope so. I drink so much of it. It'd be nice. Send me a lifetime supply, and I'll do your voiceover commercials for free.
I feel that way with like Sony products. Like I'll go to like some of these expos and events, and I don't even need like the guy that stands next to the game and tells me about the game, and I'll explain it to whoever I'm with, and they're like, "Do you just want to work for us?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And they're just making a joke, and I have these eyes full of like sparkles and shine, and like.
Pretty, 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 please. Oh, how funny.
But for the listeners out there, are there any other projects that, we need to catch up on or that you want them to know about just so we know that we've covered all the bases?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. And I
I
always feel
know.
bad. This is kind of like when people ask me, like, what have you been in? And I just look at them like they're crazy. And it's not that I'm like, trying to be rude or anything. It's just that it all comes like rushing in at once, and it's kind of overwhelming. Let's see, what's been announced recently? So we've got Mock and Key was announced, and I play Haruko, and that's a lot of fun. Lots of giant breasticles. Let's see, what else? Oh, Campione. I play Erica in Campione. More boobs, but at least I speak Italian, so it's like Italian boobs. Uh, and then, oh my God,
A different boob for a different day of the week is how I'm seeing this list so far.
Exactly. And then let's see. Well, and another came out, and I played May in that one, and that one was awesome. AKB0048. I played Yuka. Geez Louise, what else has come out? Well, Penny and Stocking, of course. If you haven't watched that, then don't talk to me. And Michiko and Hudson comes out September 17th. I'm really excited about that one. And I'm sure there's like a bajillion others, but those are the ones that are on the top of my head. I'm sure there's things that were announced recently, and I can't. Oh, Sankaraya, too. I played Babu, the little kitty cat, a zombie cat.
I believe another one for 2013 was Eureka 7, AO.
Oh, yeah, Eureka. I still can't say it. It's probably why I ended up playing some Noah the Sloth.
I said Eureka for years, so you're not the only one.
Well, yeah, because to me, I was like, well, it's Eureka, right? And they're like, no, it's Eureka. I'm like, excuse me? Eureka. I was like, I don't know what you're saying. But yeah, I play the sloth, so I don't ever have to say Eureka.
And I think that's a good list for 2013. So I hopefully all the listeners out there have wallets full of cash.
Yeah, and there's more coming out, so I apologize now. But yeah, there's a lot more on the way.
You shouldn't apologize for working.
Yeah, I do feel bad. I will say this, that I'm trying to get people, like I go in an audition like everybody else. There's very few roles that I haven't auditioned for where the director just cast me. And it's usually like smaller roles like Belarus or something where they feel like, I'll just fit that character perfectly. Like the crazy Belarusian psycho, but thanks, director man, sure. Like they'll typecast me as some little bitty thing here and there without an audition, but usually I audition like everybody else, and they cast me from that. But I know that, because I'm really, and it's going to sound like I'm bragging, I'm really not. I've just been doing this for a long time, and I'm really, really, really fast. So I tend to get cast a lot because for studio time, they're like, well, we could call in this person who would take 3 days, or we could call in Monica who would take half a day. So sometimes I feel like the anime fans are like, oh my God, no more Monica. So I'm trying to switch it up as much as I can and play different characters and try to get the directors to kind of cast me outside the regular range. I think a lot of times I get cast as little girls and stuff because it's easy for them because I kind of sound like a little girl,
But it's adorable.
Do what?
It's adorable.
Yeah, so thank you. But, as a 30-some-odd-year-old woman, you don't expect it to sound, her voice to sound like that. So it's one of those things where I think they cast me a lot as the kiddos because it's easy, but sometimes I'm like, hey, let's let somebody else play a kiddo for once. And can I be a grown-up? Like, just for a second. I just want to be post-pubescent, like, once. My dad's come in to say hello. Do you want to? You have to be on your best language. He's showing you. He's
hello.
He's showing his voice acting skills. Are you doing a dramatic piece for us? Is that what you're doing? No.
I can see it runs in the family.
Yes, it does. Who's Ethel? Oh, Lucy. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, that's my dad. But the good thing to know is that a lot of the anime fans will appreciate this. This gentleman that's in the room yelling Ethel was dead about 6 months ago. 2 times, he says. My dad was in the hospital on ICU for about six months. He's doing all of his different voices now for you guys. You're alive. And he does talk funny, but it's because he's insane.
Well, we're happy that he's alive. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to point that out because like he's got so much energy and he's fun, and everybody's like, because when he was sick, the anime fans really, really like helped me out and everything, and we're very good about like supporting me and sending prayers and good thoughts and all that stuff for him. So as you can see, my dad is back to his normal self, normal crazy self. And if there's ever any doubt about where I get my zany qualities, that would be it.
Well, if you're sane, you're boring, so it's good with us.
There you go. I mean, that's one thing you can say about the Rials. We are never boring. There is not a one of us that is boring. And yeah, he's funny. He's a character, that's for sure. I have no idea what he's talking about, Ethel. This is an I Love Lucy reference.
Oh gosh. Oh, all I can think of is like what is it? Vitamin. Oh gosh, it's been so long since I've watched Nick at Night.
Vitamin.
Yes, thank you.
I'm a big old Lucy freak. He probably was coming in to talk about that. Gosh, only knows.
I watched it when I was fairly young, probably when most kids weren't watching it on Nick at Night. And I haven't seen the show in quite a while, but the whole history fascinates me. So sometimes, I'll go and search some of the pop culture for that. So you're not missing your audience, don't worry.
Okay, good. Well, my parents used to joke around because my dad's straight from Spain, and my mom is this little blonde lady, and so they used to do the whole Lucy and Desi thing. Desi is Hispanic, so they would like joke around about being the new Lucy and Desi and stuff. So I was forced to watch it as a kid. And as I got older, I had more of a respect for it. But then I just realized that my family's crazy and fun, but crazy.
Well, for the listeners out there who want to send, messages, whether of support or questions or things like that, where can they stalk you in a nice way on the interwebs?
Oh, sure. I've got two different places that are the easiest. One is on Facebook. There's an awesome group of people called the Realists, and you can find them at www.facebook.com/groups/Realists, Realists. And I get on there as often as I can, which unfortunately these days is not as often as I'd like, and just check in and kind of see how everybody's doing. But any convention announcements or new show announcements, they usually talk about there. And it's just a nice group of people. Jessica Calvello just joined the group, and everybody's like, hey, Jessica, welcome to the group. There's like 17 messages of just everybody being awesome. I'm like, yes, I love these people. And then on Twitter, I'm at Rialisms, Rialisms, and I tend to be on Twitter a lot more just because it's faster, and I can tweet really quick and go about my day, and it gives people some insight on what's going on, and if I'm at conventions, I'll tweet cosplay or my schedule or whatever. So those are the two best ways to find me, I'd say.
I am super jealous that you can do that with your last name. I really can't with mine.
What was your last name again?
The last name that I use, I technically have two because my parents gave me two last names, is Payne, Payne. So you can't really do Payneism because that sounds like I'm a wrestler.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I was like, Payneism.
Then again, it gave my mom an excuse to call me a pain in the butt most of my life. So
yeah, there you go.
My teachers too. I remember a science teacher signed my yearbook saying that.
Oh no! They spell it with your name, like with the Y and everything.
Yes, they did.
Of course.
They asked if I could do it. They asked if they could do it ahead of time, and I was like, "Yeah, sure. Write whatever you want. It's memories. I don't care."
Yeah. Now you're like shaking your fist. Oh, how dare you!
Well, for the listeners who want to stalk you at conventions in a nice way and ask you before glomping you, what conventions do you have coming up?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so next weekend, actually, Jamie and I are going to be hanging out with Tiffany Grant at RamenCon in Indiana, I believe. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not exactly. It's in Indiana, I'm sure. But I'm not sure what city. And then, let's see, in October, I'll be going to AkiCon in Seattle. And then in November, I have a convention in Flagstaff, Arizona. I want to say Kokikoi-Con. And then in January, I'll be at Animate Miami, woo! And I know I've got some after that, but that's about as far ahead as I can think out. But yeah, usually I go out once a month to a convention at least. So if you keep updated on any of those sites, whether my Twitter or the Facebook, or even like animecons.com keeps a pretty good list of where I'm going to be and what's going on. And I love meeting people, so please come out and say hi. And if you're on my Twitter, or if you're on the Facebook group, or if you just listened to 91.8 The Fan, then please let me know. And yeah, I want to meet everybody, and I want to hang out and talk anime and sing karaoke and do fun stuff.
Well, one day our paths will cross. It has to at some point.
It has. I'm so surprised it hasn't happened yet. Like, seriously. It's been a while now, but it will happen. It has to. We're going to make it
It's
happen.
it's really interesting when I talked to somebody like 2 years ago, and I'm like, well, hopefully we'll see you at a convention, and then it just so happens we're never going to the same convention in 2 years. It
Yeah, and
just
you know what? It happens. It happens with us voice actors, too, because there's voice actors that I'm like, why have I never been to a convention with you? I feel like I go to a lot of conventions, and you go to a lot of conventions, and how is it that we've never been to one together? It just seems so odd.
I think it's just there's so many conventions and so few guests, and that's just how it turns out.
It's just so weird. You'd think the paths would cross a lot faster, but oh well. It'll happen. It's bound to.
Definitely. So, since we're nearing the end of this interview, however, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Any words of wisdom, dating advice, weather forecast?
Weather forecast, I love it. Just thank you guys for all the support you gave me with my dad. As you can see that he's back to 100%. And thanks for all the support you've given with my career, man. I keep going because you guys are awesome, and I appreciate it. And thank you for supporting the industry and allowing me to keep my awesome job that I love very, very, very much. And I'll continue to do the best that I can do for you guys. And I hope you'll keep watching and enjoy all of it. And much love to all of you.
Well, that is a wonderful note to end on, and thank you so much for visiting us a second time. Thankfully, we didn't
Oh,
scare you off.
oh no, anytime, sweetie. I'm glad my dad didn't scare you off with his asshole face.
You haven't met my mom, it's fine.
Okay, good.
But for all the listeners out there, if you missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.
Woohoo!